What's up, YouTube? I'm Mike, and this is my voice 2 days on E. You guys ever seen those videos they make, like the male to female, what is it? Female to male trans videos, where it's like, hi, I'm so-and-so, and this is my voice 2 weeks on T. Hi, I'm so-and-so, this is my voice 4 weeks on T. Apparently, I'm gonna have to start making some videos like that, except on E, because now I am on the Estradiol Valerate. I'm making another video because things are changing rapidly. So I don't suspect that I'm going to be doing daily Mike on E videos, but I did want to come back through because the Estradiol Valerate doesn't peak in serum concentration until the 24-hour period, about 24 hours. So I injected it yesterday, I don't know what it was, mid-morning, I guess. And so when I made the video yesterday evening, the estradiol was still rising in serum concentration. I'm very happy to report that as my level continued to climb, my mood continued to climb out of the absolute toilet. One of the things that is admittedly going on around here is that there is a massive roller coaster of hormones going on in my system, and it's causing a lot of issues. So one of the things that I've made videos about in the past is that when you're running high levels of estrogen, when your estrogen is basically too high, you do not feel the androgenic compounds that you're using as well. And so I've lost track of the number of guys who come back and they've been like, damn, Mike, thank you so much for, convincing me to go get my estrogen checked. It was 2 times the top end of the reference range. Now that I got it back to normal, I feel the trend substantially more. I feel you feel them, the androgens are more powerful in your system when your estrogen is in a physiological range. But there's 2 sides to that coin. So when your estrogen levels go too low, it also seems to blunt some of the effects of the androgens, in my case, specifically Trenbolone. So as my estrogen was falling, I was feeling better and better. I was feeling more aggressive on the trend. My workouts in the gym were becoming more savage. Then it got to a point where it started falling below the normal, and my energy levels were tanking so rapidly, and my mood was tanking so rapidly that the trend was not enough to overcome it. So usually the trend has me very motivated and aggressive and ready to go to the gym and ready to dominate in any sphere that I'm existing in. And when the estrogen started getting low in my system, I just completely stopped caring about anything. Like absolutely anything. My wife is like, hey, what do you want to do? Don't care. And then it got to the point where I was struggling to get out of bed in the morning. And that's why I finally decided to just roll the dice and try the Estradiol Valerate yesterday. So when I pinned it, I was as depressed as I have been in a very, very long time. I made videos basically last winter or fall where when I was in a really dark place, and then I increased my cabergoline dose and got it under control. I'm now wondering if what goes on in the male body is very similar to what goes on in the female body. This is something that my wife and I have had battles with almost our entire marriage until relatively recently, but it still rears its ugly head now. One of the things that we found out in the female body, when you're trying to combat something like PMS or PMDD, you might have noticed that your girl has like a 10-day period where she's really nice and sweet and bubbly. She's really receptive to all your advances. She just thinks that the sun rises and sets in your pants. And then suddenly, like 3 days later, you're like the redheaded stepchild she couldn't care less about. She's got no emotions, stone-faced, real like just disgusting to be around. And this is caused by hormonal fluctuations during their menstrual cycle. So when there's an imbalance between estrogen and progesterone, in this case in the female, estrogen and progesterone, that's when all of the negative mood symptoms start to occur. The imbalance between estrogen and progesterone. I think what you want is high estrogen and low progesterone. I think that's the part of the cycle where they're ovulating and they're in that great mood that they're basically the girl you fell in love with and not the devil she turns into. From my experience, it seems that a similar thing happened to me, where my prolactin, and I don't know where my progesterone levels are, I'm not checking that. When my prolactin is low, is lower than my estrogen, then I seem to be in a good mood. When the prolactin and estrogen balance start to get out of whack, that's when I would start to get deep and dark and depressed. And it's possibly the reason that cabergoline fixes a problem, even if potentially at that time I didn't have statistically high prolactin. If the ratio of prolactin to estrogen is not in a certain range, that's when it seems like I start to get the depression problems. Maybe I can do some blood work during this period of time to try to nail down what that range is. But when my estrogen started falling low, whether it was just low E or whether it was the ratio of E to prolactin, all of the familiar symptoms came back. So usually what I would do at that point, is I would dose cabergoline. Instead, what I chose to do, because I knew that there's people coming out of my house. Because I knew that my prolactin was low, or was in the low end of normal, I chose to go with increasing the estradiol. So I pinned 0.2 milligrams of estradiol valerate yesterday morning, mid-morning. And by like later in the evening last night, my wife was like, oh my God, it happened again. Like, you are a totally different person than the person that you were this morning. My outlook on my job, my outlook on the gym, my outlook on world problems, everything changes from this like sky is falling, can't get out of the misery, doom and gloom. Basically, in my low estrogen state that I just experienced, it's just like, it just puts a dark cloud over everything. So no matter what's going on, I just seem to view it in the most negative light. And what's even worse than when I think my prolactin is high is I just don't have any energy or motivation to even do anything about it. I just feel like just rolling over and getting walked on. And so as the estrogen, serum concentration of the estrogen started rising in my blood yesterday, just slowly but surely the cloud of darkness and misery lifted up off of me, and I started to go back to being my usual self, trying to find ways to conquer things that were going on, trying to get more aggressive at work, to get some more business. I have been on an absolute tear at work. I just got another big deal today. They're just coming one after the other after the other. I'm basically in the zone, and for that little blip period of time, luckily part of it happened over the weekend, I was completely off of my game. This is exactly what I was hoping would occur, basically. As ugly as it was for a period of hours, we basically have a proof positive. What's the term that I'm looking for? A proof of concept. So one of the reasons that I chose to try to get the testosterone out of my system so that I would have a minimal amount of aromatase taking place so that I could replace estrogen with estrogen rather than trying what we all do. So what I've always done on cycle is if I accidentally knock my estrogen low, I have to either take some Arimidex out and wait for my body to recover, or add some more testosterone and wait for aromatase expression to bind to the testosterone, to convert it to estrogen, wait for the estrogen to bind to the receptor, start doing its work. And so when you crash your estrogen and you try to fix it with like D-ball, test prop, in my experience, these are not fast-acting solutions. They can take a day, they can take many days to a week before you really start to feel the positive effects. D-ball probably works faster, but you can rebound your estrogen so rapidly on D-ball that you just create a rebound effect where you're roller coastering up and down, and that's not good for you psychologically either. With the estradiol injection, I was able to get myself to a point where I felt miserably low, pin the dose, and in less than 24 hours be back to almost normal again. It probably wasn't until earlier this morning that I was feeling 100% back to my usual self, and this is still sort of in the dark. I'm happy to report no gyno today, although if I'm being completely honest, I do feel like there's maybe a little more, the glands are maybe a tiny bit thicker than they were when it was low. Now, maybe that's going to be necessary. I don't know. I've always had residual gyno, even with estradiol in the target range, in the acceptable range. It's possible that when it falls out of the range, that it becomes softer than I'm used to. So right now, I definitively do not feel high. The big question mark is whether or not I'm going to pin estradiol again tomorrow. So what I'm planning on doing, if I'm going to use the estrogen to maintain, if I'm going to use the estradiol Valerate to maintain this serum concentration of E2, then I will need to pin about every 3 days. That should, 0.2 milligrams every 3 days should put me at about 25, give or take, picograms of E2. But that's not counting whatever I'm getting from HCG and Deca, which is why I'm uncertain about that dose. What I'm considering doing is pinning half that. So I'm considering, or less than that. So right now I'm pinning 4 units to get that 0.2 milligrams. I may try pinning 2 units or 3 units tomorrow, so I come down a little bit off of this, off of the target of 25 picograms per milliliter to offset whatever Deca is doing. So I may try keeping the estrogen in play at just a smaller amount to make sure that I don't go high. D game was phenomenal last night. Very, very, very dialed in. I think the psychological hurdles are gone. My confidence level is back. My desire is definitely back. Basically right now, everything in my body is firing on all cylinders. The only thing that negative that I have to report is some continued, what I call disassociation, sort of that cracked out feeling. But interestingly enough, I was feeling a little bit cracked out this afternoon, and then I had an interaction at work with actually a customer who tried to accuse me of some shit. I snapped on him, and when I snapped on him and got my blood up, the kind of cracked out feeling went away. I think it's possible that I'm on it, that even only being on 140 milligrams of Tren Ace, 140 milligrams of Tren Ace feels more like about 200 milligrams of Tren E to me. And I think that it's giving me a sufficient amount of energy during the day. And when I'm just sitting around on my computer doing emails, taking phone calls, trying to close deals, it's not aggressive enough to burn off the energy. And I think what's happening is that heightened sympathetic drive is turning into some anxiety. And so that anxiety's kind of caused me to feel a little bit rattled. The second I get up and start moving around and become aggressive and burn off some of that energy, then I seem to come back down to a better spot. This is one of the reasons I don't like taking D-ball. On D-ball, I cannot sit still. Like, I have to be, like, I can't sit still for any period of time. Like, it's just too much. It's too agitating. And if I don't have some kind of outlet, the drive turns into irritability. I think it's possible that's what's going on. Again, I can't know for certain. There's too many variables. We still have testosterone that's falling out of my system for the first time since I was an infant, more or less. So obviously that could have some effects on the body. But right now, everything with my experiment is going exactly to plan. The estradiol Valerate injection brought my E2 back up at least to a feel-good range. I can't possibly know what the actual blood work would be because I haven't gotten it done yet. I mean, I can know. I could go get blood work done. But right now, I'm just dosing for feel to see how close I can get. As long as I don't have gyno, that I know I'm not high, and as long as everything else is functioning. And so clearly what we have is on the low end, depression. So it seems to me that from the feel perspective, as long as I'm not depressed and I'm feeling driven and motivated, but I don't have gyno, then that means I'm somewhere in the sweet spot. Obviously, morning wood is a strong indicator. Excuse me. And D-game performance in the bed, desire for my wife, these are all strong indicators. The fact that I am cranking out OF content and Discord preview content at a rapid pace is more evidence to the fact that I am in the sweet spot with all of my hormones. So right now we're in a honeymoon period with the E2. Hopefully this is going to continue to work. Hopefully the absence of the actual bioidentical, more or less, testosterone in my system is not going to be a problem. Hopefully, truthfully, 19 nortestosterone can replace your body's natural T and perform all of its physiological functions. If that is the case, then we have the makings of a really cool experiment. And I'm going to run this as long as I feel good and functional on it. There's some people who seem to think that the estradiol is not the way to go, that I should be injecting more Deca to try to get a physiological amount of estrogen through the aromatase pathway, that may end up being proven to be true. I don't fully understand why it would be. I would think that, because obviously females aromatize to some degree, and then their ovaries make estrogen. Obviously, in the male body, 100% of the estrogen is coming from aromatase, give or take. I think it was Kowalser who said, somebody said in something I was reading that there could be some tissue selectivity of estradiol produced by aromatase. Whoever said that, I would love to see some more data on that. Just from a pure logic standpoint, I can't understand why it would matter where the estrogen came from. Whether it, if T is aromatized into E2 or you inject E2, I can't understand physiologically why it would matter, but I'm definitely open to seeing that data. So again, I don't want to keep rambling on this. This was just intended to be a short video as just kind of an update. 2 days on E, 2 days on E, guys. This is what you get. So far, everything is working great. And if anything changes, then I'll keep you posted. I don't know that I'll make a video about it tomorrow, but if my mood continues to improve or suddenly I start growing, breasts or something crazy happens, then I'll update you then. For those of you who are waiting for that, what might be the last episode of the Homeless series, I'm going to try to get that done. I keep forgetting about it until I sit down in front of the camera to do something else, and then I'm like, oh shit, I forgot I haven't completed that series yet. I'll try to get that out soon, but no promises. So there you have it. As always, thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one.